Map, filter, and reduce functions. Map, filter, and reduce are three important functions available in Python for functional programming. These functions are used to operate over a sequence of elements or iterators. In this lesson, we will learn how to work with these three functions. Before we proceed, let me introduce you to the concept of functional programming. Functional programming. Functional programming is a programming paradigm that breaks down a problem into individual functions. It focuses mainly on declarations and expressions rather than the execution of statements. The main focus of the functional programming is the results, not the process. As said earlier, the map, filter, and reduce functions are the cornerstones of functional programming in Python. Another concept that we need to know is the concept of higher-order function and first-order function. Higher-order function. A higher-order function is a function that takes a function as an argument or returns a function. On the other hand, a first-order function doesn't take a function as an argument or return a function. Map, filter, and reduce are three important higher-order functions in Python. Now we will learn about these three functions one by one. Let's start with the map function. Suppose this is a list of salaries for few employees. We want to revise the salary of each employee by increasing salary for each by 10%. We can do this in various ways. For example, we can loop over each item of the list, process each item individually, and save the changed values by appending to a new list. The for loop accesses this list iteratively, calculates the increment salaries, and appends these new values to a new list salary_revised. Let's run the code and check the result. So, this is our revised list of salaries. We did it using these lines of codes. Here we have clearly mentioned the process of revising the salaries, how to access the list, how to increase the value, and how to save it. Now we will rewrite the code using the map function. Let's first check the syntax of map function. The map function takes a function and one or more iterables as arguments, applies the function on the iterables and transforms each item of the iterables, and returns a new iterator. The first argument is a function that transforms the iterables. The map function needs at least two arguments. The first one is a function and the second one is an iterable. The function is applied to each item of the iterables one by one and at the end returns a new iterator. Now we will rewrite the highlighted codes using a map function. Let's comment out the code for reference and write the revised code just below. This will help us to understand the difference. The first argument of the map function must be a function, so we are using a lambda function here. The second argument here is a list, that is salary. So, this is our function that transformed this list into a new iterator. The entire process is handled by the map function. The map function returns a map object, which is an iterator. Let's convert the map object to a list using the list function. Let's run the revised code and check the result. These are the items of the salary_revised. This time, we have achieved these changes using the map function with just a single line of code. This is the beauty of the functional programming. We are not bothered about the process, rather on the functions. See how concise the code is. Just one line of code and does everything we need. Brilliant, right? Just mention that we need to apply this function to each element of this iterable, and the map function does it, as simple as that. If you are not conversant on the uses of lambda function, you may watch this video lesson. Now let's dive into our second function in this lesson, filter. Filter function accepts two arguments, a function and an iterable. The filter function filters out the unwanted items from an iterable. The function argument takes a single argument and typically returns either true or false. The iterable argument can be any iterable, such as a list, a tuple, a set, etc. Now let's try an example that uses the filter function. Let's consider this list of few numbers. We want to filter out the items which are multiples of 5. We can complete this task in various ways. One way is to use a for loop, process the items one by one and save the items that are multiple of 5 in another list. Let's try it using a loop. Our coding is complete, let's run it and check the result. And here is the output. So, we have achieved our goal. But here, the entire process of checking the individual items and saving the multiples of 5 are worked out by us. That is, here, we are writing the entire process to do the task. Let's comment out this portion of code and rewrite it using the filter function. We need to provide the filter function with two arguments, a function and an iterable. Here we are using a lambda function to check for multiple of 5. The second argument is an iterable, and here it is a list of numbers. This is the first argument, a lambda function. And this is our iterable, a list of numbers. The filter function returns a filter object, which is actually an iterator. Let's convert the filter object to a list using the list function. Our coding is complete. Let's run the code and check the result. The result is the same as the previous one. That is, this single line of code is doing all the things and gives us the desired output. That is the beauty of filter function vis-a-vis functional programming. Our last function in this lesson is the reduce function. The reduce function accepts two arguments, a function and an iterable. The function passed as the argument applies it cumulatively to all the items in the iterable and returns a single value. That is, the reduce function reduces the items in the iterator to a single value by applying a function. Unlike the map and filter functions, currently, the reduce function is not a built-in function. Earlier, it was a built-in function, but it has now been moved to the functools module. So, we need to import it. Once again, consider this list of salaries of few employees. Suppose we want to find the total salary earned by these employees. Using the reduce function, we can do this in the following way. As already discussed, the reduce function takes two arguments, a function and an iterator. Here, we are providing a lambda function and a list, a number, that is, salaries of few employees. This is the first argument, and this is the second argument passed to the reduce function. The lambda function accepts two arguments x and y, and the values are supplied from the list, salary. The x, y values are added by the lambda function cumulatively. At the end, the entire list of elements are reduced to the sum of all the items in the list. That is the function of the reduce function. Display the total underscore salary using a print statement. Let's run the code and check the result. This is the sum of all the items of the list salary. We have completed all the three functions, map, filter, and reduce. Now it's time to end the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe this channel for more such useful lessons. Bye. Have a nice day.